the league was suspended and now put on hiatus until we don't know when, but we still get to check in each week from the Athletics. Sam Amick joining us this morning here on The Drive. Good morning, Sam. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Good. You all right?
Are you quarantined?
Finishing a little teeth brushing, getting rolling here. I'm quarantined.
Please tell me you were brushing your teeth like when we picked up.
I mean, I just finished. We're good.
I can tell you have
We're
fresh
getting
breath.
personal here.
You open the door, Sam.
Don't worry about me, Dave. Don't come at me with your stuff. You can't even keep rats out of your house, man. What's going on with you?
Wow. Sam 1, Dave 0.
Wow. Dude, yeah.
That also means I'm going to have a rat by the end of the day.
You should. Let me tell you, buddy, it ain't cheap and it ain't fun.
I hate to have fun at your expense.
No, you don't.
But true story, like you brought some levity to the end of the day. Like read the boys a bedtime story, say goodnight. Oh wait, here's a fun video, kids. Look at this.
No, you didn't play it with sound, did you?
Oh yeah, that was the best part. Come on, that was fun.
Okay, I just didn't know because I said a bad word there.
Yes,
it was.
No, I mean they're 13 and 10. They hear it at school all the time, and they
and from their
they did. But yes, it did prompt. Expressions of, oh, what did he say at the end? And then Emily, my wife, was laughing pretty hard. It was good. I mean, it's funny for us, but that's got to be. I can't believe the check you cut to try to solve that problem and do this is ridiculous. I'm feeling for you.
And I am going around every corner. Do you remember the movie The Shining?
Oh yeah.
Okay, remember when Danny was riding his little tricycle and he turned the corner and there were the twin girls that were all jacked up? And the fear that Danny had turning that's how I am around every corner of my house. I think I'm going to see basically the equivalent of those twin girls from The Shining. That's what my mindset is right now.
Well, and the thing that struck me, and we've had occasionally problems like that, but not quite that personal, was just the dialogue between you and the rat is what cracked. Like the tone in your voice when you're trying to go to bed.
Yeah.
And it's, it was very intimate, and I feel for you. Now, this is not what your listeners are necessarily looking for, but I got to ask, that was a video of one. I mean, how many sightings have we had here?
Well, this all started with the first one.
Yeah, this is number 2.
And the first one that was on top of my downstairs bathroom door when I saw it and I was taking a leak. And that's the one that escaped, and then the next morning, I come downstairs. My wife had put a trap on top of the fridge, and the trap had snapped, but there was no rat. And then when I come around the corner, it was a murder scene on my floor. It was a dead rat with blood coming out of its mouth. It was a giant pool of blood. But we were hoping that was it. Then yesterday morning, same thing. There's a gray rat now on top of the bathroom door, and while I was taking a leak, and I end up trapping it in the bathroom. And then I bring out the exterminators at 11 a.m., and they promptly let the rat out of the bathroom by accident, and it went underneath our couch. And that was the rat that I was filming last night. Then this morning, all I'm doing is looking and listening. It's dead quiet. It's 3:30 in the morning. I heard a snap, and for a second, I thought that was one of the traps that were set, but it was the coffee maker. So everything's it's like a terror dome right now, Sam. They've sealed my house up. It cost me $2,000. There's traps everywhere that won't kill my chihuahua or my bunny. We should move on, but I called my homeowner's insurance. I wanted to see if I could burn the place down or go to an Airbnb. They said no. So it's kind of a war zone there right now, Sam, and I don't know.
Well,
my kids are at home alone right now with God knows how many vermins.
I mean, you got to listen to the people, man. You already unintentionally listed the problem: Chihuahua and bunny. Everybody on your Twitter feed told you need to get a cat.
I'm not getting a
cat. People were even well. Then borrow one. That was my other favorite part. In times of need, when people like yourself are doing very kind deeds and helping people pay their bills through social media and such, which, by the way, good on you. That's been cool to watch. I did also laugh when, legitimately people offered to lend their cat to you for a couple of days. So whatever you got to do, man, I'm thinking of you.
I think I'm gonna grab Ninja the cat from my dad. I'm gonna trade Nacho the Chihuahua to my dad for Ninja the cat, and then I can just give the dumb cat back after the cat has killed 17 rats and brought them up to our bedroom, probably with no heads. So looking
Right.
forward to that. Anyway, speaking of that, the NBA schedule, Sam. No segue. What is going to happen, and when is the season going to start? Sam, go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the answer.
That's the easy one.
I mean, obviously, Adam Silver had a State of the League address yesterday on ESPN, and what struck me and a lot of others is that he is clearly not letting go of the season, and made a comment about how I'm paraphrasing, but he said, the optimistic sort, excuse me, and just use the word that, the idea of salvaging the season was still in play. And I think the eye-opening part, or the enlightening part, if you're trying to figure out where his head is at, is that he kind of just randomly would mention these different creative ideas that could be possible solutions. He mentioned a charity game with a select group of players that could, entertain people while they were, for the most part, in lockdown across the country, and things like that. Now, that wouldn't save the season, but it does show that he's pushing, and he's thinking, and he's trying to, find solutions here. I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens in terms of how they handle each medical update, because there seemed to be this sentiment of, well, we tried to lead the way out of sports, meaning suspending the season, and maybe we lead the way back in. The non-basketball writer in me, just the citizen, was a little wary and skeptical of that, because it sounds like a great way to frame something where you prematurely, try to jump back into a season for the sake of your own bottom line, and trying to frame it as, some sort of public service. So, we'll see. They're listening to the medical professionals. Obviously, testing remains a hot topic, not only because all of their players haven't been tested, but because, far more percentage of their players have been tested than the regular population. And then you have the dialogue about, just preferential treatment. So a lot of layers to it, but no clue when we're going to have hoops again, obviously.
Yeah, there's so many things in there, Sam. I'm going to go back to the testing part, though. What struck me was a tweet you had. It was last week after Rudy Gobert was announced that he had the coronavirus, that some players were concerned about not only getting it, but making that public. Is that what happened with the Nets? And then Durant obviously chose to make it public that he had that. So is that kind of where some are saying, that some may not look at this in the right way if I make this public? Where's that divide amongst players?
I mean, teams, I think based on the league protocol, teams don't feel obligated to share anything. Oh, speaking of which, there's a cat, guys. We need a cat, Dave?
Tell that cat to shut up. We're doing a radio show. That's my problem.
Hey.
He has no problem at just, hey, I'm a cat. I'm going to roll in here. I'm going to ruin the interview. And then by the end of this interview, guarantee you he's going to show you his butthole. That's what cats do.
It's nice. It's my fault. I chose to step outside.
Sorry.
Wow, that was loud.
That's what it sounds like.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the teams feel no more obligation than to announce hey, the Brooklyn Nets have had 4 players test positive. Now, without getting into it too much, the media side is interesting because, it's kind of unprecedented. Our Sham Charania had broken the Durant news, and I guess I would say it this way, like, we have a pretty good sense of who the other players are, but you kind of just, it's a calculated choice to just say, okay, Durant's the big name. He chose to go on record. Let's go ahead and kind of leave it there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, the privacy thing, I'm torn on it because I don't really think there's going to be nothing but sympathy for any person who has coronavirus right now. And the idea of being stigmatized, while, yes, I did, Jay, I conveyed that fear in the player community. I didn't necessarily understand it. But, medical privacy matters. This is different, though, because you're obviously impacting a lot of others. Every single person who has it, it then becomes a game of 6 degrees of of separation and who have they been in touch with. So there's a public health component to knowing the identity. In fact, yesterday I went back and forth with the league a little bit because they so far are choosing not to disclose the 8 teams that have been tested. Now we know, I think 4 or 5, Boston, Toronto, Utah, Lakers now, the Nets obviously, but there's a few others that have not been identified, and they're not sharing that. Now, those results, I think, will be shared, but, again, it's all new to everybody. They're trying to figure out how to do it.
Sam Amick of The Athletic joining us, and Sam, I don't just read you and Jason and everyone else. I try to read as much of The Athletic as possible. By the way, while you're sitting around doing absolutely nothing, it's a fine time, and I know they have a ton of deals on The Athletic right now, so you can read some pretty awesome journalism as a car.
Actually,
yeah.
Just to interject real fast.
Please.
You heard that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
Are you standing in a crosswalk? Okay.
I'm literally walking around the neighborhood.
Okay.
Is that allowed? Am I breaking rules
You're
here?
fine. Go ahead.
Jay's the PD. I don't want to.
Good point.
Get in trouble.
Jason's the
social space. Just be aware
6
of that.
feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the step counter. Just trying to get moving.
Gotcha.
Stay healthy.
They have we're free for 90 days for The Athletic.
Oh,
they decided to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I will retweet that later if people want to check it out.
Sure. And while I'm reading the Free Athletic, I read Bill Orum's article. I think it was yesterday, and I've seen you kind of. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've seen your behavior on social media. I think, unless I miss my guess, you're a little bit on this side. And Jason and I have been talking about it for a couple days now. I'm not necessarily sure the NBA's caught up to the potential PR issues of having all these healthy players tested. And by healthy, I mean they're not in the danger demo. There's testing shortages. Bill made a point I agreed with in his article that the Lakers' move should have been our guys are asymptomatic. Instead of us testing, we're donating the money we would have used for testing to people that really need it. Do you sense that that's a potential PR bomb for Adam Silver if they keep testing this way?
Yeah, I do. And they need to let Adam handle that PR bomb and not Michelle Roberts,
right,
the Players Union head, who, in defense of the players, got very defensive yesterday. And even, she had one quote that was, that was going at the administration and saying, don't get mad at us, get mad at the government. And listen, I agree. That's actually a conversation that I had with Bill as he wrote that column, where I couldn't wrap my head around getting mad at the Lakers because I can't stop getting mad at the government for how slow we've been on the testing front. But within that, yeah, I think it's a PR situation for the league because it does send a bad message. You have now politicians, Bill de Blasio coming out the other day and tweeting, Mayor of New York, that the Nets, I hope they're healthy, but they shouldn't have a test that other people don't have. So I wonder behind the scenes if the PR component is in real time affecting, teams' decisions on whether or not to get tested, because it's not a great look. You sit here and say, hey, good luck to the rest of y'all, but, we can cut this check, so we're going to know whether we have it or not.
Sam, as this goes forward, I know Adam Silver also said yesterday, obviously the health of everybody is priority one. So if and when there's some sort of clearance here for the league to resume in whatever form it does, do you have any kind of a gauge on what kind of financial impact this will have on teams, on salary caps, on just the financial element of the league?
I don't. I would anticipate certainly, the cap going down a healthy amount, and it's a heck of a double whammy to have that happen after the China situation earlier in the season. I don't know. You wonder too.
Let me clarify, Sam, real quick. I'm sorry. I know it's probably obvious, but when you say the China situation, you're referring to Daryl Morey and that situation that was already impacting the cap. Okay.
Thank you for protecting my PR, Dave.
I got you. I know 98% of everyone knew what you meant, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when Daryl Morey, tweeted support of the protesters in Hong Kong and the Chinese government was upset and cut off games, and that was another major hit to the NBA's revenue because they had no streaming for quite some time, and then it hadn't even fully recovered, before this happened. So those two things are bad. And I wonder too, bad business-wise, I wonder too, going forward, how teams are going to survive and the PR stuff within that, meaning that so far, basically every owner has committed to varying levels, of paying arena workers during this time off. And the optics of that are good. But then you see a headline from yesterday that Tillman Fertitta, a Houston Rockets owner, within his other businesses, is telling people that they no longer have vacation pay. They have to give back time off, and they're cutting certain benefits because, the bottom line is starting to take a hit. So, what is the actual ripple effect of employees within the company? Are they going to be able to continue paying folks during this hiatus? It's easy for all of us to say, for the sake of charity, do the right thing, but each of these owners have different degrees of wealth, and I think over time we might start having that be a little bit more revealed.
Sam Amick with us. Sam, I want to preface this. Totally impossible question. Total speculation. It's just you hear and talk and listen and been around this a long time, and this is this game a long time. This is an unprecedented situation. Do you have in your mind a leader in the clubhouse as far as what the NBA is going to do? Or do you have the ability even to rank possible situations, or is it your guess is as good as mine, no clue thing?
I mean, until Adam's interview yesterday, I would have been in, the team no season, see you next year type thing, based on the gravity of the kind of the information being shared by the medical professionals. Then you hear Adam's tone, and he's not letting go of the rope. Now, again, this kind of goes back to testing, because if they can't have clarity on their players and their status, then you can't get your players together. This is maybe a reach, but like if you go back when Magic Johnson was HIV positive, and there was so little certainty about how that worked, and the fear was rampant among players, nobody wanted to play with him. And so if I'm a player, and then they're talking about, hey, let's go to a neutral location, neutral site, let's have the playoffs, and we'll just have the standings be as is. Sorry, Sacramento. Sorry, New Orleans. Memphis gets the A spot, whatever. I mean, if you're a player, like, do you really want to share that ball with that person? Because you can wash your hands during timeout, but what if you make the mistake of, putting your hand in your face? So, without the testing, which we are seeing is maybe available but problematic, then I just don't know how you go there.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an easy one, and I think about that on your scenario of, sorry Sacramento, sorry New Orleans, sorry all these other teams. I wonder what those owners, obviously everybody's losing in this. This isn't what anybody asked for, but their push to Adam Silver of, hey, look, we still could make up 18 games here. I know it'll be difficult. I'm curious what those owners' conversations have been with him.
Probably restrained, because it's just hard. It's a tough time.
Sure.
Right now to say, hey, what about our A seed?
Right, right.
And so, I mean, even last night you could tell when Adam was asked by Rachel Nichols about records and awards and things of that nature, and like how this would be reflected in the history books, basketball-wise. Like, it struck me that, I mean, he's clearly had that thought cross his mind, but his only answer to her was, I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think, that probably applies to, hey, the Kings thought they had a shot. What the hell? You know what I mean? But it just kind of is what it is at this point. To your original question, if I had a leader in the clubhouse, knowing Adam, I would not be shocked if he doesn't find some very outside the box way to have like something take place that is tied to this season, whether it's a play-in tournament or you just pick the top 4 teams and have like an asterisk champion type thing. because you were able to test those 4 teams, whoever they were, so maybe something happens, but it seems obviously pretty challenging right now.
No doubt. Well, Sam, enjoy your walk. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Hang in there.